Hey, so this is Casey Smith, and this is the proposal for my podcast for audio production too. What I'm planning on calling it is Yesterday's Lessons, as you can see here on the slideshow. And our little tagline is a history podcast about today. Okay, so the overarching subject is going to be the historical forces that drive today's current events. An example of some sub-subjects that we'd go over is stuff like ancient history, modern history, and prehistory. That'll kind of be baked in and integrated. It'll be kind of hard to tell when you're going between which and which. But that's just the general overlook. So as for the format, it's going to be mostly a solo narrative, mostly because of necessity. However, when possible, I would love to host discussions with some of the following guests. You have Pablo Perdue. He's an engineering and physics student, a good friend of mine. Cody Wood, who's current holder of a Bachelor of Arts in Marketing and Economics. Madeline Smith, Bachelor of Science in Psychology. Stan Ballard, he's got a doctorate in seminary studies, and Randy Smith with a bachelor's in history. Okay, so our mission statement is as follows, and I'll go ahead and read it. In today's political climate, we like to view ourselves as living in a time beyond history. And while that belief may go all the way back to the boomers coming up in the early Cold War, it doesn't make it any less false. Current events, no matter how intertwined they are with new technology and big modern names, are directly connected to what history that came before it. And in this podcast, I endeavored to illustrate this connection in an attempt to paint a more complete picture of the world today. This podcast is presented in collaboration with the Audio Production 2 class in the School of Media and Journalism at Arkansas State University. Of course, you already knew that. That's the part that you had me include. So for a potential listener profile, you're looking at an age group between 25 and 40. Again, that's approximate, probably predominantly male. Probably looking at largely white Americans and largely college educated. Adjacent hobbies would be politics, economics, and philosophy. Okay, so here's some of our branding. Primary colors, I'm looking at black, mint, and blue. Logo colors, black, mint, and blue. And our font is Bookland Old Style. Here's an example of some art. And this is an example of music for the intro. I'll go ahead and put this in post, but you'll hear it now. All right, and this is an intro script as outlined in the project. It says, "Hey guys, this is your host Casey Smith, and this is Yesterday's Lessons, the only history podcast that isn't just about yesterday, but also about today and tomorrow. This will be all of your first time joining us since this is the first episode. So just a short summary of what we're about. We look at current events and give a historical context to them to better understand those events. Today we will be talking about the war in Ukraine." Okay, so this is the block rundown. You're looking at that intro that we just read. Block 1, we go over the Russian Empire, starting in the Mongol rule, then medieval Russia, then Tsarist Russia. Then we'd end this section by talking about World War I. Then in block 2, we'd talk about the USSR, Communist Revolution immediately following World War I, and then World War II. And in block 3, we talk about everything post World War II. So you're looking at the Cold War and the state of Russia today to include the war in Ukraine. And then we'd run an outro. And this is going to be an example of the outro music. Again, I'll add that in post. It'll sound like this. All right, that's all I've got for you today. Thank you for watching, and hope to see you tune in for the podcast later on.